This 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz is an all-new product for the company, but it might be an all-new category unto itself. What's it like? Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Max, racing driver, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now, this Hyundai Santa Cruz is an all-new product for Hyundai, there's no question about that. It might be an all-new category as well. There's really nothing else that competes with this now. Hyundai, of course, doesn't want to call this a pickup, but it kind of does all the pickup things. So we're really not going to call it a pickup, but it does pick up things. And as you may have noticed, I am suffering from a broken leg at the moment, but it doesn't impair my ability to drive a vehicle. And in fact, tomorrow we're going to the racetrack, but that's another story for another day. Now, this Hyundai Santa Cruz, to understand it, we've got to look at it in a little more depth. If you've looked at Hyundai's latest Tucson, a lot of this Santa Cruz is going to seem familiar. Powering the base model Santa Cruz in the US is a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4, but this is the one to get. The 2.5-liter Turbo 4 makes 281 horsepower at 5,800 RPM. 311 pounds of torque from 1,700 to 4,000 RPM. Base transmission is an 8-speed automatic. This one has the 8-speed wet dual clutch. Transmission coolers are standard, and that's very important if you're towing. The base drivetrain layout is front-wheel drive. This has the H-Track all-wheel drive system, which is an active type of all-wheel drive system, which is basically front-wheel drive until you need some torque transfer to the rear axle. Chassis is based around what's going on with Tucson, so it is a unibody suspension, is McPherson struts up front, multi-link rear, non-adaptive dampers, which are remarkably good, which we're going to get into. Steering is electrically assisted, of course, with a column-mounted assist unit. Brakes are 12.8-inch rotors all around on all models. Wheels and tires are 18s on the base, and this top trim has 20s. Inside, the rear seats flip up. There's the sliding rear window. The bed is primarily composite construction, not steel or aluminum. It has an easy open lockable cover, underfloor storage, and lots of tie downs. Curb weight ranges from 3,700 pounds for the base front-wheel drive model to this one at just over 4,000 pounds. Payload for a front-wheel drive model is about 1,700 pounds. This is about 1,500 pounds. And towing for the front drive model is limited to 3,500 pounds. All all-wheel drive models are limited to 5,000 pounds. It's that time in the episode for how to spec your Hyundai Santa Cruz. Base price in the United States is $23,900, and that is for a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder powered front drive Santa Cruz. In Canada, base price is $38,499. We only get them as all-wheel drive with the 2.5-liter turbo here. What you're looking at is the very current and fashionable gray with black interior, but trust me, there are some much more attractive and interesting colors available. There are 6 trims in the US from that base 4-cylinder front drive with an 8-speed automatic. You can get the same engine with all-wheel drive as well. There are 2 trims like this one with the 2.5-liter turbo and the 8-speed wet dual clutch. In Canada, there are 3 trims. All are the 2.5-liter turbo with the 8-speed wet dual clutch and all-wheel drive. As tested, this is $39,720 US as the limited trim. In Canada, this is $44,799 as the ultimate. Now, how you spec yours? Well, there are a few considerations. Whether you want the 4-cylinder naturally aspirated motor, whether you want the dual clutch, because you do need the 2.5-liter turbo motor with the dual clutch, whether you want front drive or all-wheel drive, that's going to depend on where you live and how you're going to use your Santa Cruz as well. There are tons of dealer installed options, so you've got to look at those. Depending on how you're going to use your Santa Cruz, you can get the right stuff. And finally, I think you need to get a much more interesting color combination than this one. From the standpoint of the driver interface, I am almost entirely happy. There's just one thing that we'll get into, but the basics, the seat is wonderful. I'm well supported here, lots of adjustment in the steering column as well. I'm just seated perfectly here, and that results in great visibility in almost every direction. Yes, that rear window is a little tiny. You've got a smaller perspective out the rear view mirror, but otherwise this is just a wonderful place to be. The steering wheel is Of course, this one is finished in some fine leather, and it is designed to have your hands at 9 and 3. Secondary controls are easy to manipulate, and of course there are paddles for the gearbox, but otherwise I'm very, very happy here. Love the digital instrument cluster. I am driving this in sport mode almost all of the time, and that of course changes the nature of the instrument cluster, so it just looks wonderful. Love the way I engage with this Santa Cruz. Secondary controls are very straightforward, as Hyundai always does. It's very easy to understand, no learning curve whatsoever. The infotainment system is Hyundai's latest. It's very easy to use, has Apple CarPlay, which I'm using almost all the time. And this being the top trim model has a large screen for the infotainment system, which is just lovely, especially on Apple CarPlay. It's just so easy to interface with the Santa Cruz. The one thing I don't care for, ergonomically speaking, is the lack of that volume knob. Maybe my old age is catching up with me, but I'd like a volume knob. I really don't care to press these buttons all the time. Yes, there are redundant controls on the steering wheel, but that's the only thing I don't care for about this interior. In terms of spaciousness, I will say that I'm very comfortable here in the front row. Yes, I've ridden here, driven the Santa Cruz a heck of a lot, and I've been in the back. Now, the back doesn't have a tremendous amount of room. I can just fit behind myself in the seating position. It was much better when my dog was back there. He was very, very happy back there. But otherwise, spaciousness is very generous up front. In the second row, not so much, but those second row seats do flip up. You've got some underseat storage, which makes things a little bit easier, and I have used that underseat storage as well, so I really can't complain about it. Under the bed, however, and I love the bed because that roll top cover is so easy to use. They've got that strap that's attached to it so you can close it easily, and it's lockable with a turn of a switch underneath, so it is secure. I love the tailgate as well because it's electronic. It's an electronic switch. Just press the button and the tailgate drops, and it's damped as well, so it doesn't slam down to the lower position. Using the cover, using the tailgate's great, and then when you've got it open, there's underfloor storage as well. It's just very, very usable. For me, using the Santa Cruz for my snowboards and bicycles, I need some attachments, some of those dealer installed accessories to really take advantage of the Santa Cruz's ability to haul them. So as it is, that bed is just not big enough to haul my BMX bike or my snowboard, so I need some of those accessories for sure. With the 2.5 liter turbo motor and the 8-speed dual clutch, this will accelerate from 0 to 60 in roughly 7 seconds, maybe a little bit quicker than that, but it's not about that. It's the wall of torque that this motor produces. Peak torque is available just off idle up to whatever, 4,000 RPM, so you've got maximum torque in the regular rev range that you'll be driving in almost all the time, and that makes this so much easier to live with. Just that abundance of torque makes this get up to speed so easily everywhere. I think anybody who's going to drive this will really appreciate this. And as far as I'm concerned, the 2.5 liter turbo is the motor to get in the Santa Cruz. If you look back at previous episodes and front drive 2.5 liter turbo and the dual clutch applications, I really don't like it there, but because this is all-wheel drive, maybe it's a little bit heavier than the Sonata N-Line, but this drivetrain in this Santa Cruz is just excellent. I've never had wheel spin at the front wheels, which tells me that there is a little bit of torque transfer going to the rear axle when I need it, and it is imperceptible. Very happy with power delivery at low speeds, and in fact at all speeds with this drivetrain in the Santa Cruz. I definitely want to try this in low grip conditions. There's been no rain while I've been driving it, and it's the peak of summer, so we've got no snow here in Canada. Shocker, I know, but I really want to try this in low grip conditions. Perhaps we'll test this in the winter to see what this all-wheel drive system is really all about, but in the dry, on some gravel, on some sand, this has been impeccable. One thing I do have to talk about is the 8-speed wet dual clutch transmission. Where you'd expect a traditional automatic, Hyundai's installed their dual clutch, which I've enjoyed in many other vehicles. However, I didn't look at the specs before I drove the Santa Cruz, and as soon as I shifted to reverse, I'm like, oh, Hyundai's installed the dual clutch. Why is that? Well, every single 8-speed wet dual clutch of Hyundai's demonstrates the same characteristic, which has a little bit of a delay when you shift to reverse. There's just a little extra delay there. And as soon as I shifted to reverse the first time, I knew that this was the 8-speed dual clutch of Hyundai's. There's no question about that. The 8-speed is just wonderful. It's versatile, it's smooth, it does all of the things you expect it to, with that minor exception of an additional fraction of a second to engage reverse. In every other instance of Hyundai's highway driving assistant, whether it's in a Genesis or even a Kia, it works wonderfully. Even the Sonata N-Line, and I think that Elantra N-Line that I drove a little while ago had it, and it's a wonderful system in every other application. In this one, and this is a pre-production car, I have to mention that, but I do find it a little nervous in terms of its lane keep assist. It's very active with the steering on lane keep assist, but otherwise the adaptive cruise portion is flawless. I love the way that works, and I find it to be very, very reliable. The steering is fine, feel is pretty benign. You're not going to get a lot of steering feel out of a small pickup truck or a small sport utility, and that's to be expected, but it is direct, it's precise, it's well weighted. I'm very happy with it, at least in my ability to control the Santa Cruz. And sure, even at higher speeds, even at higher G loads in corners, it does everything you want it to do. There are no shortcomings with this system. While the steering is just fine, brake feel, modulation, control is excellent. Now, I do want to try this when I'm towing something that's near 5,000 pounds to see what it's really like. Not sure if there's enough brake there to tow 5,000 pounds all the time, but we will find out in a subsequent test. Perhaps somebody else has already towed with the Santa Cruz, but as far as I'm concerned, love the way this brakes. I love the pedal feel, love the modulation and control. Even with a full complement of people and luggage and a pet, braking was excellent in the Santa Cruz. Where the Santa Cruz shines is in its ride and handling, and that's because it is based on the Tucson crossover. Ride and handling is simply excellent. I'm very impressed with the suspension setup. We don't even have adaptive dampers on the Santa Cruz, and ride, handling, body and wheel control is excellent. Comfortable ride all the time. And then when you want to throw it through some corners, it corners relatively flat. You're confident with this Santa Cruz's ability to carve a line through a corner. I'm very, very impressed with ride and handling, and that is definitely one of the highlights. If you're looking for a smaller pickup, this is definitely one of the advantages to the Santa Cruz. Overall, I've really enjoyed driving the Santa Cruz, and the funniest thing about it is that it gets as much attention as driving a Lamborghini does. And yes, I've driven plenty of Lamborghinis to know, but everybody wants to see this thing, everybody wants to talk about it, and I suppose that's because there aren't any on the road yet, but it's a very distinctive looking thing, and everybody seems to be very interested in the Santa Cruz. My verdict, well, I've driven the Santa Cruz a heck of a lot. I've taken it to the beach, I've driven it around town, I've done lots and lots of wheel time with this thing, and I really enjoy the way it drives. In terms of fuel consumption on these long drives, I'm doing well over 25 miles per gallon, which is impressive for me because regular viewers of the channel know that I drive for pleasure, not for fuel consumption. Regardless, I've been able to use most of the capabilities of the Santa Cruz, and it's very versatile. I've filled the bed with stuff, love the lockable cover, love how it stows and closes, love the damp tailgate, love the way it drives, and definitely on the next test I have to tow with this thing just to see what it's like. But overall, I've really enjoyed the Santa Cruz. It drives far better than I imagined. It's very satisfying to drive, especially with the 2.5 liter turbo. Now, if you can get away with a small pickup and don't call it a pickup, and this is something you're looking for, I highly recommend looking at the Santa Cruz. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz. Hope you liked this episode, and if you did, well, you're not new to YouTube, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, like this video, and as always, sharing is caring. So please share this episode with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you want to support the channel, please hit up our our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our popular line of Save the Manuals merch. And Hyundai still sells manuals, so kudos to them. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Hyundai pickup trucks that you're not supposed to call pickup trucks.